Hey, welcome to the Badass Breastfeeding Podcast. This is Dianne, their lactation consultant.
And I'm Abby, the Badass Breastfeeder.
And hello.
Hello.
We have, I didn't know if we had ads this week or not. I forgot to ask.
No, we don't. Yeah, no, I should have said that.
No, that's all right, so I have the review of the week. And this one
Yay.
is, like, I'm super jealous about to read this. This one is really amazing. So this is from Fit Mama PDX. I don't know what PDX means. It probably stands for something, but I'm really uncool. So
Something
really
fit and badass and sporty.
Yeah, something. Yeah. I didn't start listening to this podcast until I was 2 years into nursing my son and my little girl was born. It started as a favorite go-to to listen for the sleepless nights of newborn land, but has become so much more. I recently attended a weekend Strong First kettlebell training, which was grueling to say the least. And with the extra badassery that I got from you both, I was able to advocate for myself and my kiddos and take nursing breaks during the day. Being the first new mom to attempt this was nerve-wracking for a multitude of reasons, and you will never know the extra strength this podcast gave me to succeed and to set a new norm. Thank you.
Aw, that's amazing.
That's really amazing. That's really amazing. So
that really is.
Good for you, Mama. Because
yeah, I would love to see a picture of that.
I know.
Do you have one?
That would be awesome. Send us a picture if you have something from that day, because we would love it. But that is really cool, and I'm so glad that we set out to do this podcast to just get the good information out there, to kind of bust out the bullshit and to really just kind of make everybody understand what breastfeeding is for real, and people are taking it to a whole different level. I am so thrilled that people are getting a sense of strength and determination just from listening to what we have to say.
Well, this is what happens when people have information.
Right. Information
is
power,
the
right?
natural, yes, this is the natural progression of getting information. You're empowered and you're in control, and then you start making what you want to happen in your life happen.
Yeah. Well, breastfeeding anyway, just empowered me,
Yeah,
and
right.
I think people say, oh, you have a baby and blah, blah, blah. But it was really breastfeeding. To be able to look at my children and be like, I completely nourished that child. That child is growing off what my body is making for them. You really just become very empowered when you realize the things your body can do. It's really cool.
It's true. And I think it's because, I didn't feel that way being pregnant.
No,
I didn't feel, I wasn't which is also incredible. You're growing this baby inside your body. But it wasn't you can't, only thing you could see is your stomach getting bigger. And, I don't know. With breastfeeding, it was different. It's also pregnancy is kind of you see it, you see it more. Mm-hmm. But with breastfeeding, you don't really see it. And then you get to watch your baby do it and grow. You get to watch it.
It's just really cool. So today we are going to talk about newborn behaviors or newborn normals, or how breastfeeding fits into this picture. I think we touched on this a little bit way early when we first started this podcast. We talked about coming home from the hospital and what to kind of expect those first, couple weeks when you first come home and you're shell shocked and going, oh my God, what did I do to myself just now?
And everything they do scares the crap out of you.
Exactly. But I have just really, I see this all the time when I work with new families, but I really, really, really just want to, I'm on this tangent right now where I really just want people to know what is really happening, what is really going on. Your baby is not starving 98% of the time. Everybody thinks, oh, the baby cried, they're starving. Oh, the baby cried, they're not getting enough to eat. Oh, this happened, this is good. I have parents that come in and they're shocked that the baby wants to be held, that they're, the baby's not going to sleep well for them. They're just, surprised at what is transitioning when they have a baby. So I want to talk about what's normal. What do we see? What is normal with your baby versus what you are being told your baby should be doing?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah,
I mean,
there's so much that you're probably being told is normal that is so not normal or possible for a newborn.
And what is normal for a baby? They're all different.
Right.
It's
Well, I mean that, when that doctor told me that my baby should be sleeping 10 to 12 hours a night by a couple of months old, you're not going to see that. And if you do, you should be alarmed. Like that's not, you're just not going to see that.
There is just and a lot of times this comes from like, well, obviously we've got a big social media thing going on in our world right now where there's so much information overload, and you can tap into any kind of mom's group and they'll say, my baby doing this, why isn't your baby doing it? And, blah, blah, blah. So there's so many ways to question what you're doing. But when it comes out of like from your family and I hear that a lot too, whereas like, oh, well, my sister had a baby a couple years ago and my mom said that her baby didn't do this. Her baby didn't cry this much. Her baby is, sleeps better. And it's like, we can't compare, they're babies. They're human beings. They're babies. Everybody is not the same, right? Every human is not the same. Like,
right. They're as different as adults.
Right. So they're not going to do the same things. They have different personalities, different traits, different everything than even the next baby you have. Like, how different were Jack and Exley?
Yeah, I know. Night and day.
I mean, you can't compare them at all. You can't compare them to your sister's baby, your friend's baby, anybody else's baby. It is your baby to learn and to love and enjoy, and they're going to do what they're going to do. And it's up to nobody to be like, oh, that's not normal. I mean, come on.
That's right. They don't, yeah. So what are some things? What are some normal things?
Some normal things. One of the biggest ones, we'll do like probably the top ones, but one of the biggest ones is you bring your baby home, and for the first, like, I don't even know, I want to say month or two almost probably, they really don't want to be put down. They really want to be held all the time. And families, this is really surprising to new families. This is really surprising that they try to put their baby down. Their baby falls asleep in their arms. They try to put the baby down, and the baby wakes up and cries. And the baby does not want to be by themselves. And people are surprised at that. They're like, well, I can't put the baby down. The baby will not be put down. They just cry. They'll only nap if I'm holding them. They'll only sleep if I'm holding them. They'll only calm down if I'm holding them. Yes, your baby was literally attached to your body for 9 months. They do not want to be put down in a strange place where they are by themselves. Instinctively, that is against everything that their natural is telling them.
Yeah, they're telling them that that's danger.
Exactly.
Their bodies are telling them instinctively that they're in danger.
Yes. So this is
I
very
was shocked
primal.
by that. It was the same way for me. Every time I tried to put Jack down, because I kept, being told to put him to sleep in various places, and he would cry, and I'd be like, something's wrong with him. Something is wrong with him. He'll only sleep with my boob in his mouth, and I can't put him down. And like, we're constantly looking for like, all the tricks to like get him to sleep longer. All those apparatus, the swings and the rockers and the everything. He wasn't fooled. He was just like, pick me up.
It is so primal. And, Abby, you talked about this when you did the interview with Tracy.
Yes, Tracy Castles from Evolutionary Parenting. That's an episode, a few episodes back, where she talks all about sleep.
And it's just the whole primal thing with, with babies. Babies have no idea that it is 2019 and that they are perfectly
and there's locks
safe.
on the door. And right.
Yeah. And they're perfectly safe in this $300 contraption that moves them around and shakes them and hushes in their ear for that. Like, they have no idea. They have
no idea that it's not 100,000 years ago with saber-toothed tigers walking around. When in our environment, in the early humans, in that environment, there were predators around that we were constantly on watch for, that were, trying to eat our babies. We had to be on guard all the time, especially at night.
Yeah. Especially at night.
Your baby doesn't know what year it is. All they know is that if they're not close to an adult, that they're in danger.
And when you pick up your child. When you go and you respond to them, they cry and you pick them up and you soothe them and you comfort them and you nurse them and, you cuddle them. That builds a security and a trust with them. If you leave them to figure it out on their own at the age of a month, that's crazy, because they're not going to figure that out on their own. They're going to think, I'm left here. I have been left.
Then they withdraw. Yeah,
exactly. They withdraw.
I heard, I don't have any idea if this is true, but I heard, how when you pick up a baby, it doesn't matter if you have babies or if you're whatever. If you pick up a baby, how you start to move back and forth.
Yeah.
You start to just sway. I heard that we do that, that's just like a reflex from back those early human days where we would be moving, the group of humans would walk to a new location, and it was just the sense of moving to safety or moving to more food or moving to a new place, and that was the way we comfort babies is to do that, motion, this movement. I don't know
so
if this
cool.
is. I have no idea if this is true or whatever, but.
Well,
I remember reading that once, and I was like, "Oh my god!" Because before I had kids, if I picked up a baby, I would do that, and I'm weirded out. I was weirded out by babies before I had babies, like a lot of people are. But you just do that. You're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna move this back and forth. This seems like the thing to do."
The mom rock. That's what we would always call it. Because you just kind of rock back and forth with them.
Yeah.
I heard once, which makes a lot of sense, and again, I don't know if this is really the truth or not, but that cluster feeding in the evening and those unsettled babies in the evening, because that's when babies need to be on high alert back in the, the saber-toothed tiger days, like you were saying.
Yes. That
is when we needed to be awake and alert to be sure that we were safe.
Yeah. And the same thing about...
Yeah. Oh, I was just going to say, that is, everybody says, oh, my baby's got their days and nights mixed up. Babies have zero circadian rhythm. And instinctively, they think it's, 18 BC. So it's just crazy that we would think that they could adapt so easily into this life that we have, that we've been in for how many years? 30, 40 years, that by the time you have a baby, and we think that your baby, who was just put on the planet yesterday, should be able to adapt to that so quickly.
Right. And that's the same thing. I've heard a similar thing about when you're showering. That, when you're in the shower and you hear babies cry, you just hear them cry. It's just this thing. Especially if you have a baby, you think your baby's crying. If you're in the shower, you think your baby's crying. Everyone knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's from, again, early humans, when around water was extra dangerous. And so we had to be on heightened alert around water.
That is really
And
cool.
so when you're in the shower, everyone's heard that ghost baby crying. You get out of the shower, you look at your baby, they're sleeping.
Yep.
Yeah. So we are absolutely tied to our ancestors. And as we grow and get older, we learn all these things about our world. Okay, we know that what year it is. We know what our environment is. Your baby is born right into your ancestors' arms.
Yeah. And
So
they really they need very, all they need is food and love and safety. And you can provide that for them very easily, but for some reason we question why they need it.
And get a carrier.
Yes.
To get a Moby wrap or something. They're inexpensive, and those are perfect for newborns. And practice before you have your baby if you can, or practice at napping or whatever. It seems really hard. You can go on YouTube and watch tutorials. At first I was like, I'm never going to figure this out. And I did. And it's so much easier to just be able to hold them that way. And then that's where then you can still use your hands. You can still do what you need to do, whatever. You can even sit down and lean back and rest.
It is wonderful.
It's just a lot easier.
Yeah, it's wonderful to have.
And they don't. I met a family in my neighborhood. I was walking around one day, and I saw this gentleman who looked like a grandpa wearing a baby, and I was like, "Oh my god, I have a picture of this." And I was like, "Oh my god, that's so cute. Can I take a picture of you?" And he was like, "Okay." And so then the family kind of gathered around. The story was that the mom, his daughter, had a premature baby, and they decided the grandparents and the whole family all decided they were not going to put the baby down for, 2 months or something. Mm-hmm. And so I'm talking about never putting the baby down. They would take turns throughout the day, through 24-hour periods. They would take turns holding the baby. The baby had never been put down.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
And I understand that not everybody can work that out.
Right.
But, it was like, the baby was premature, and they thought, well, let's just try to do a little something extra for this baby. And that's, the baby responded to it because, again, that's what... There's some cultures that don't put the baby down at all for like the first 30 days or something. They don't.
I was just going to say that. I know that I heard, I can't remember if it was in a movie or where I heard it, a documentary or something, that there is a culture that doesn't put the baby down for the first year of their life because it's dirty or something. Like they believe that their feet should not be touching the ground.
Yeah.
But if they can't hold the baby, somebody else holds the baby. Like it's just
right.
But that
and this
that's
is how
where
it
you get
used
the
to be.
communities. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah.
The village raising the child.
Right. Right.
It's crazy. Yeah, but it's just like that.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
This is what your baby. This is the world your baby is living in. So there is absolutely nothing wrong with your baby that they don't seem to sleep very long, that they want to be held all the time, that they want to be nursing all the time. These things are all completely normal.
Yes.
They're good.
They're good. Yes,
these are all
good.
positive things. These are all signs of a very healthy baby.
Yes. One of the I had said to my friend the other day, she was just getting ready to go back to work. She's going back to work next week, and her baby's 2 months, and it's her fourth. And she said, she's like, we're in kind of she goes, I hate to even say anything, but she's really sleeping really good right now. And I was like, and I've been around her enough since the baby was born to know how, she is with the baby. And I said, I've found that the more you just respond to what they need, the better things go. If you spend a lot of time trying to structure them and trying to schedule them and trying to, it's not time to eat yet and you should be sleeping now and you should be if you just respond and feed on demand and respond to what they need and just roll with it, they just settle in so much easier because it's what they're settling into, what their norm is.
Yeah.
And she said, she goes, that is so right. She goes, with this baby, we did just kind of do whatever with her. We just responded to whatever. She goes, the other ones, I was messing around with them and waking them to eat and doing this and that. She goes, and they weren't settled at all. And it really just the babies know what they need. They know what they need.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. They're telling you when they're crying, they're just saying, I need something. And it could be a million different things, but just pick them up and nurse them. And that's always the answer. Just be constantly nursing, breastfeed on demand, constantly, all the time, whatever. If they make a peep, just latch them on.
Yeah.
Or just keep them there so they never make a peep.
It just makes it easier for them and for everybody, really, all the way around.
Right.
So that's one of my, that's one of my biggest ones. But the other thing, too, is the feeds. When you bring your baby home, yes, they feed a lot. But they're not trying to terrorize you. They have a small stomach. They can't hold a lot of volume. They have to feed a lot.
Yeah,
and people are just oh my gosh, they want to feed. They must not be getting enough. They must not be getting what they need. The baby wants to feed again. Oh, I don't know. It's only, you just fed that baby. Why would the baby need to eat again? Maybe because babies eat. How about that? They just, that's what happens with them. What do we want them to do? Put on a show? Strap on their tap shoes and, go to town? What do we want them to do? They eat. That's all they do.
Yeah. And also, there's also reasons for this. Again, it's not just, random. I mean, babies they have teeny tiny little stomachs and breast milk is really thin and digested really quickly because it's not safe for your baby to go into a super deep sleep that young.
It's not.
Sorry.
Yeah.
They are awake. Their bodies are taking in a tiny bit of food and digesting it really quickly so that they wake up again. They need to be waking frequently. That's why formula is actually a SIDS risk, because it's so heavy and it's in their stomach longer. It takes it longer to digest, and they go into a deeper sleep. Now, please don't freak out. I used formula. A lot of people are using formula. And it's in our world. I understand that it's in our world, and some people just flat out choose to refuse to use formula, and I get that. I'm just explaining the realities of why breast milk is so thin and why your baby is waking so frequently. Mm-hmm. It's because they are keeping themselves in a very, very light state of sleep where they're waking frequently to keep them. They're not ready. They're not developmentally ready to go into a deep sleep.
They're not.
So they're staying real surface.
And that's important. And that's part of their development. That's just it. And when people say to me, oh, well, the baby should be sleeping, like you said, 10, 12 hours, or the baby was my sister's baby was sleeping, 6 hours when we brought her home from the hospital. That's not okay. It's really not,
No.
It's just, yes, maybe some babies will do that, but it's not the norm. It really isn't.
No.
It
right.
is not
and
the norm.
Let me add, too, that sometimes your baby will sleep for a few hours. Like, that will happen. And I'm not saying that your baby's at risk of SIDS when that's happening. That's not the case.
Right.
I'm talking about a baby that's been fed, filled to the brim with something other than breast milk, and, they've been kind of in like a food coma.
Yes.
There's that's not safe for babies, newborn babies. But your breastfed, on-demand newborn baby will sometimes sleep for longer stretches of time and just enjoy it.
Yeah.
Like just be like, okay, cool. But that's not unsafe.
Right. But when you have a baby, you have to go into it knowing that your baby is probably not going to sleep. And this isn't just a baby thing. I'm sorry. My kids were waking me up as toddlers. And
I know.
It's not a baby thing.
But there's the fear there. There's a fear of not sleeping, and then there's the fear of sleeping. Because listen, this is new. When you have a newborn, you're a new parent. This is a scary time. Mm-hmm. So when your baby is not sleeping and you think something's wrong with them, I was terrified. Like, I was legit scared that there was something wrong. And then if my baby slept for 5 hours, I was like, oh my God,
something's
is
wrong.
He sleeping too long? Something's wrong. I need to wake him up. Should I wake him up? Do I wake him up?
Is he breathing?
Yeah. Both of my kids they'll be 8 and 5 in a couple of months. And I still every day check to see that they're breathing.
Like, it's just, I do too. My kids are teenagers. Like, if they're sleeping too soundly and I go to wake them up in the morning, I'll be like, you all right in here? Like, what's going on? Are you alive? Yep. What's happening? And they're like, Mom, what is wrong with you? Because they're like, I'm fine. I'm just sleeping. And I'm like, well.
Yeah, stop poking me.
I know. But that's just a mom thing. It's just going to happen. But what kills me is that people attack the breast milk over this. Well, your breast milk must not have enough calories. Your breast milk must not have enough fat. Your breast milk's too thin. You must not have enough milk in the evening because that's when your baby wants to eat more. You must not have, it's like, there's nothing wrong with your breast milk. Your breast milk is not too thin to nourish your child because they want to eat in 2 hours later. That is not what is going on here.
Right.
At all. And when people plant those seeds, it's really easy to go, oh my gosh, maybe my milk is not good enough for this baby. They keep waking. And the other thing too is like the charts. We look at these charts at what the baby should weigh or should be growing at, according to whoever, I don't know, 1,000 babies that they looked at. Forget the fact that there's like 3 million born a year, but we should all be adhering to what this 1,000 babies have done. So it is just like your baby is not going to grow like that, but your breast milk is what they need to grow. That's all they need. It doesn't, when people say things to me like, well, I don't think, my doctor said, or my mom said, or I was reading on the internet and I think maybe my breast milk doesn't have enough calories, or my breast milk isn't fatty enough, or, you know, like things like that. I'm like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? We are basically blaming the mother's body.
Exactly. We're just making parents at fault for everything. Putting responsibility on but there's nothing wrong.
No, this is normal newborn stuff. Your babies cry. The other thing that I see all the time, I think I explain this to families every single day, which is fine. I should just put a little recorder on. But it's just babies cry. You latch them. They nurse. They doze off. You put them down, or you burp them, or you change their diaper or whatever, and they wake up and then they start rooting again. And people go, oh, they didn't get enough to eat. They like to suck. Babies like to suck. That is their calming mechanism. That is how they soothe themselves. They suck. It's very soothing. They were probably doing it in the womb for however long they were laying in there too. So it's just what they do. It doesn't mean they're still starving. But all of the information that you get, like online, and when you go to classes, when you're pregnant and stuff, they'll always say, if your baby touches their face, if their baby puts their hand to their face, they're hungry.
Oh yeah, all the signs that are there's signs that your baby's hungry. It's like all the things your newborns does.
Right.
You know, like, oh, they touch their face, oh, they wiggle their hands, and they turn their head. Okay, well, that's all the things they can do. That's all they're capable of doing.
If you touch their cheek, they'll root. Like, and it's fun. You
Right.
You can do that. Moms will be like, why are they turning their head this way? And I'm like, I don't know. And you touch the other cheek, and they turn their head that way. You know, it's just like their little sleeper could be rubbing up against their face, and they turn their head. Like, it just, It's an instinct for them. You know, it's a reflex. Yeah. So it's normal.
It doesn't mean you did something wrong, that you're not nourishing them, it's just what they do. They're weird.
It's just what they do. And it's amazing to me that sometimes moms will be like, well, how do I know if they're still hungry or if they just want to suck? And it's like,
it doesn't matter.
Well, you can put them back on. If they suck twice
just
and go to
back
sleep,
on,
then
right.
That's all they wanted to do. But nobody wants to put their baby back on because they think they shouldn't have to do that. I don't know. It's
right. Or they've been told to just feed every 2 hours.
Exactly.
And so then it's like, oh, well, if they're trying to nurse, it hasn't been 2 hours. It must mean they didn't get enough of my milk. It must mean my milk's not good. Because you could very well go back to the doctor, and the doctor will say, well, your breast milk doesn't have enough calories in it. Well, your breast milk doesn't have enough fat in it. Mm-hmm. Like, people are told this all the time. And this is nonsense. This is complete fucking bullshit. Oh, I don't know. We might have to put explicit lyrics on this episode now. Sorry.
We can keep that in, though.
Okay.
We're keeping it in. But you know that we're going to get
ridiculous.
A review or a email or a message or something from somebody who said, yes, I was told that.
I get messages all the time. Mm-hmm. My doctor said my breast milk doesn't have enough fat in it. What can I eat to make my breast milk more fatty?
Yeah, I hear that. I just heard that
tell
this
your
week.
Doctor to sit and swivel, because it doesn't make any sense. Your breast milk is specifically designed by your body for your baby. Your body didn't make a mistake.
No.
Your body doesn't do that. And you know what? Different babies require different amounts of fat. And your baby requires different amounts of fat at different times of development.
Exactly.
And different times a day, even. Mm-hmm. Your breast milk is always changing, and it's never the same as somebody else's because you have a different baby. Your body is amazing.
It is just...
I don't think... People don't realize how amazing their bodies are.
Yeah.
Like, your body knows, and your baby knows, too. Your baby is way smarter than you are.
They know what
because they are just operating with just instinct.
Mm-hmm.
And we are clouded by all of these things that we're being told, by all these cultural norms that are completely ridiculous. If we can just silence all of that and listen to what our babies are telling us and respond to that, you're golden.
And it's really like, I struggle a lot because I work in office, in doctors' offices. Part of my time is spent in doctors' offices. And it's really hard because pediatricians or doctors as a whole, it's not even a pediatrician, but doctors as a whole, like, they want babies to be growing at a certain rate. And the other frustrating thing is that you could go to 3 different doctors and they'll tell you 3 different things.
Yeah.
You know, I think the baby should gain this much. Well, I think the baby should gain this much. Well, I think the baby should gain this. You know, and it's just like, that. What are you supposed to do with that? You know, like, it's crazy. But if the baby isn't gaining the way the doctors think they should be gaining, they will, you know, bring you back and check the weight and all this stuff.
Scare the crap out of you.
And it's like, all the things that we're told, is the baby pooping and peeing? Is the baby, you know, alert? Like, I see this a lot. And I tell moms all the time, like, if we weren't looking at the weight every 20 seconds, there would be no question, because the baby's behaving perfectly fine. Everything that you look at is perfectly fine, but babies grow the way babies grow. And if everything is okay, like, why are we expecting them to weigh a certain amount according to a chart? Like, I had a mom freaking out one time. Well, she wasn't necessarily freaking out. That's kind of my exaggeration. But she was like texting me about, like, because her baby, and she has twins, one of them was gaining better than the other one was feeding better than the other. And then she sends me by text, like, the amounts, because she was like weighing him once a week, his weights. And I did the math. I go, he's gaining an ounce a day. Why isn't that good? And she goes, that is good, isn't it? And I'm like, yes, it is. What do they want from you? Because they were telling her it wasn't enough. And I'm like, what do they want? Because this is fine. I go, and you know what? Then they're going to tell you at 2 years old that you need to put that kid on a diet because they weigh too much. You know, like, because
right.
Babies grow the way they're supposed to grow. And I don't know why we think we should.
And they weigh as differently as adults do.
Exactly. Yes. They weigh as differently as adults do. But babies, they eat when they want to eat. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with the milk. You know, it's just the feeding cues are skewed. Everything looks like a feeding cue when you bring your baby home from the hospital. You know, they just need to be soothed and calmed and know that you are there. That's really what they need. It's not rocket science. They need that calming and soothing that they had in the womb. This is life outside the womb, and they are like, what is going on?
Yeah. And it's shocking for everybody, you know. I mean, for you too. You know, you maybe you worked, maybe you didn't, but you know, you probably had some sort of schedule. You had some sort of routine in your day, and you can kiss that goodbye because this is just not happening anymore. And especially if you have like toddlers or other kids, it's going to be so hard because they still need their schedule while this baby just needs, you know, to just go with the flow. And so, I mean, the two of the biggest things I think that can help you are a baby carrier and heading back to our co-sleeping episode.
Yes. And listen to the one on evolutionary parenting too. Like, seriously.
Yeah, the sleep. Yeah. Well, she'll talk a lot in detail about sleep and what's normal and why it happens the way it happens. But there's things keeping your baby close so you don't have to be, you know, they're going to wake up constantly at night. And again, it's totally normal. And the best thing you can do and the easiest thing you can do is respond to them. And you don't want to be going up some stairs or down some stairs or down a long hallway or whatever. You just keep them right there, either in your bed or next to you, close in the room. Listen to the episode for all of that. And it's going to be so much easier.
And it's not forever. It's not forever.
No, my kids just moved into bunk beds, and I'm traumatized.
No, right? It's weird. But, well, because Abby and I like to get off on tangents here, we only covered two things. But those were the biggest ones.
It all applies. Well,
it does all apply.
Can you maybe just run through the rest of your list just quickly?
Well, that's kind of like, those are the biggest ones for newborn stuff. And it like you said, all of it applies.
Breastfeeding and sleep.
Breastfeeding and sleep.
That's the biggest thing.
Your breast milk, there's nothing wrong with your breast milk. Babies like to eat frequently. You know, feeding cues, the crying. Crying does not mean that they're hungry all the time. Everybody thinks they cry, they're hungry. That is not the case.
Breastfeeding is so much more than food.
It is so much more than food. It is so much more than food. So do not always think that your baby is hungry when they cry. But those are my biggest things, you know, like having a baby is definitely it's a huge culture shock of a change, but listen to them, respond to them, and that's all they need.
Yep.
And that's all.
Awesome.
That's all I got.
Thank you so much for listening, everybody. And please share your experience in the review section on iTunes, and maybe you will be our review of the week. Woo! And head to badassbreastfeedingpodcast.com for sponsor links, for promo codes, for an awesome list of resources and all of our other episodes that you should scroll through. And you can get information about how to schedule your own online consultation with Dianne.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.